high school stage 5 clinger murdered his mom. Okay, buckle up because this is going to get weird. This isn't something unknown amongst my friends and the people local to me, as I live in quite a small town. So, in 9th grade, I would have been about 13 or 14 years old. I had no friends. I was, and still am, kind of weird and it threw people off. Making friends in high school was so difficult for me because I refused to change who I was just to fit in. During the second week of school, I met George in my English class. Our teacher had sat us together, and we began talking and building a friendship. George was very nice, and we had a lot in common. He had come from a different elementary school. It was odd because the people from his elementary school commonly went to a different high school, although he insisted that he wanted to go to this high school because there were certain classes he wanted to take that the other school didn't offer. After about a week of talking together during English, he asked if I wanted to eat lunch with him. We had the same lunch period, and he said he noticed how often I sat alone to eat. I thought it was the nicest gesture, so I agreed. We ended up having lunch together for a while, but then I started making some new friends. I always invited him to eat lunch with a few of the friends I had made, but he always declined. Then one day in English class, he passed me a note. This was very strange since we were sitting right next to each other. The note said something like, "I need to talk to you. Can we please sit together alone for lunch?" I wrote back that I would sit with him and we hardly spoke the rest of the period. I got a really strange vibe from him. So, it's lunchtime. I see him sitting at the end of a row. I go to sit down and he says, "No, let's go outside to talk." So I agreed. He looked genuinely upset and I wanted to know what was going on. When we got outside, he led me over to sit on a curb in front of the school and started talking very aggressively. He told me that it was unfair of me to make other friends when he was the one who befriended me first. He told me that I had to eat lunch with him because when I was alone, he ate lunch with me. So now that he's alone, I was obligated to eat lunch with him. It was a very bizarre conversation. I explained that he could sit with me and my friends and that way there wouldn't be any issues, and he can even make some new friends. I told him I had enough friendship to spread around and that he had nothing to be upset about. What he said next completely shocked me. I could see the anger in his eyes. He grabbed my arm and said, "I don't think you understand. You owe me this. You will sit with me." I got completely freaked out at that point and told him we could sit alone together every other day. I just wanted to get away from him and go back inside where more people were around. After this day, I started getting weird messages in my email. I will never forget the first email I was sent. It said, "All women are Satan. The devil lives in you all." I didn't recognize the email address and assumed it was some internet troll trying to scare me. You know, like the old chain emails. Then they started coming more frequently, all with the same type of message. Women are the devil. Satan lives in all women. I started getting scared, so I showed my friends these emails. They agreed it was weird, but also agreed that it was probably some random person trying to scare people. But my one friend Stacy told me that she thought it was George. She had heard stories about why he came to our school instead of going to the high school his grade 8 graduating class was going to. She told me he was so obsessed with one of the girls in his class that her mom actually got a restraining order against him over the summer. I told her that sounded insane and I didn't believe it. I was still having lunch with George on alternate days and we were still friendly during English class, but I really wanted to distance myself from him. After Christmas break, our schedules changed for second semester. I was honestly very happy about this because I knew I'd have a different lunch period than George and we wouldn't have English class together anymore. I could slowly disassociate myself from him, but I was wrong. He started leaving notes in my locker, confessing his undying love and explaining that we were meant to take over the world together. Which, at the time, I thought it was very nice of him to say, but the feelings weren't mutual. Eventually, I had to tell him that enough was enough. I explained that he was overwhelming me and that I needed a little space from our friendship. He seemed to understand. He didn't get upset or yell. He just agreed to give me my space, which lasted about 2 days before the emails started getting worse. They started threatening my life, telling me they knew where I lived and went to school. I went straight to my mom when this started happening. I know I should have done that sooner. My mom called the police. The police informed the school. The school looked up the email in their records and found out it was George sending the nasty emails all along. George was suspended and wouldn't even look at me anymore. I was honestly relieved. 1 year after we graduated high school, George and his mother went for a drive. While she was driving, he stabbed her over 100 times. He had a psychotic break. When the police found him, he tried saying it was a car accident, but when they questioned him about all the stab wounds, he admitted to killing her and trying to release the devil from his mother's soul. He pleaded insanity against the murder of his mother, and he was found not criminally responsible for her murder. For the sake of this story, the individual who shared this provided aliases for the people it counted. However, given that this is an actual public crime, George's name is Luke Armstrong, and his mother, who was tragically murdered, is Christina Armstrong.